Hello, and welcome to episode number 9 of the About Ewe podcast. I'm your host, Madeline, and this is a video podcast mostly about knitting, sometimes some crochet and other crafty things that I'm getting up to. If you are a new viewer, welcome to the podcast, and if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. So it's been 2 weeks since my last episode, and a bit of stuff has happened since then. Not a lot of knitting, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Stuff happens. Knit happens. Or doesn't in my case, but anyway, I digress. Today's episode, I've got no finished objects, two works in progress, and then I've got a bit of stuff to talk about, like a recap of the sock magician Nathan Taylor's An Evening with Nathan Taylor that I attended 2 weeks ago, which was hosted by Skein Sisters. And just looking around, I've got a few other little discussion points, I guess, and hoping for some feedback and suggestions, because yeah, I'll probably ask the same question on Instagram in a post shortly, but I'd love some feedback. So if you agree, disagree, or yeah, have any suggestions, I'd really appreciate them, but that'll come later. So first up, works in progress. So I'm pretty sure I showed this last time, and it might have only just been cast on, but it's the Violet Waffle Hat, and I don't remember who the designer is, but I'll pop that up on the screen for you. And I'm knitting it out of hedgehog fibre in the Merino DK on a 4mm Licker needle. So I've really enjoyed this knit so far. This is my second Violet Waffle Hat, and yeah, I'll show it to you now. So this is what I've got so far, and the colour was called Beach Bunny by Hedgehog, and it is pooling in some areas here and also some on the back, but it's a gift for my cousin who's recently moved overseas, so I'm really enjoying it. It's a really simple knit. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, so if you're a beginner hat knitter or you haven't knit very many hats before and you want something that is quite an effective pattern for quite simple, so it's essentially you do the ribbing and then it's 2 rows of knit and then 2 rows of knit 2 purl 2, and that's it, that easy. So yeah, I've got the yarn here and I've just got it in a little carry bag that I got off eBay. Oh dear. Okay, so I thought this would make it be a good way to hold the yarn, but maybe not. It's still coming out funny. But it's like the base color, I think, is like a turquoisey aqua, probably more aqua. It's lighter, and then it's just speckled, heaps of speckles. So it's been really good to knit with. I've quite enjoyed that so far, and I'll keep working on it. So hopefully by the time I record again, I'll have a completed hat. I think I've got maybe 2 more inches to go in the pattern, and then I'll start the decreases, so I have to remember to take my needles, my long needles with me. And I guess I have knit on Licker not very much before. I talked about in a previous episode some socks that I started on the wrong size Licker needle, and I was really enjoying that even for socks. And these needles have been a dream, so I feel like I need to invest in the full set. But that might be a Christmas present to myself or family. Yeah, so it's pricey. I'll probably get a few people to chip in for that one, or let's face it, I'll just buy it for myself. I don't need another interchangeable set, but I've really enjoyed working on this fixed circular, so I'm keen to see the interchangeable one. So that is that one. And then the next update that I have is on my Radiate pullover by Joji Locatelli, which I think I've talked about almost every episode because it's taken me that long to knit. But I've put it on a coat hanger and I want to show you now. So I just peer around the side. This is what I've got so far, which is good. So I finished the yoke a while ago and started on the body. And I've just measured this morning and I've got 10.5 inches here, and I need to do another 4, which is about 25 rounds. So I think if I can do you know, 3 rounds a day, I can have that done in a week. And then it's an inch of 1x1 ribbing. I think it's 1x1. I don't know. Anyway, and then onto Sleeve Island. But I've got quite a bit of yarn left, so I did bring the bag over. So I think this is skein number 3 of the, yeah, this is number 3 of the grey, and I have 2 more skeins which I've wound off into 50-gram balls. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to need as much as I thought I did, so I'll probably will use 4 skeins by the time I do both arms. And I like the effect that it's having. So I have talked before how I bought all of the skeins at different times, or in kind of sets of 2 and then 1 extra, and they're all marble, but as what happens with hand-dyed yarn is they're all quite different. So it's a bit more lighter up here, and then, or sorry, in this middle section, and then it's going dark, and I am alternating every round. And I've noticed that the next 2 skeins are quite, I have 2 balls which are quite dark, which came from the same ball, I think, or the same pair. So the arms are probably going to be dark as well, but I will alternate those. And I think for a while there I was alternating every 2 rows, and now I'm alternating every round. So yeah, 20 rounds to go and then some ribbing, so that's really exciting. It's getting far too hot here to wear knits. So this is, I probably should talk about the yarn if I have the tag. No, I don't. Anyway, it's We Love Knitting in their Merino DK. I don't know if Claire carries this base anymore because she's changed a few things around, but it's really soft and squishy. DK, it's like 220 yards per skein, and I have 5 skeins of the marble, and I use just over 1 skein of the mint up the top, and that's including 2 gauge swatches because I took 2 swatches to make gauge. So yeah, that's all I've got works in progress wise. Well, other than my mitered square blanket, but I haven't added anything to that, so I'm not going to bother showing you because that would be a waste of time. Yeah, so usually we talk finished objects, works in progress, and then dream knitting or acquisitions. So we're going to dream knitting first, and I have talked about this yarn and this pattern before, but this is what I want some advice on. So these 2 patterns by Caitlin Hunter, the Sipula and the Zweig, I think it's Zweig, but anyway, I need to watch the Christy Glass knits again. So I bought this yarn I'm about to show you for the Zweig pattern. Let's see if there's I can't really show you any more of the pictures without giving away the pattern, so that's kind of unfortunate. So it's 3 Mums Yarn, who are one of my favourite local dyers, and it's this really dark navy, almost black colour, so I'm really sure I'm not going to love the rows and rows and rows of stuck in it when I get to it. But this is it here. So this colour here is like a really nice, it's a light lilac with a gold, I think it's, yeah, gold stellina, and it's this quite speckled, and I don't want to unpull it because I can never wind the skeins up so nicely, but and there's 1 skein which is really almost black, so I'm going to have to make sure I alternate those quite well. And I've got them all stored in a little bag separate because I'm running out of room in my stash. Actually, you know what? There's 1 colour which is more navy blue, and the others are almost black, which you can't really see, but I'm sure in a jumper you'd be able to see. Yeah, so like I said, I bought this to make the Zweig, but I actually think I like the Sipula better. So essentially it would look like this one, but probably with long sleeves depending on how I go for yardage. So I'm kind of feeling like, should I make the Zweig, essentially? What should I make? And I will, yeah, love to hear any comments below. And I probably will put a poll on Instagram at some point when I'm actually close to making this, which is probably not until the end of the year, but I'm not having a lot of knitting time recently, so I'm planning my knitting. So yeah, this one or this one. Help me out, please. Please, please help me out. Or this way. And so I've got those 2 projects on the go, and I did say how I quite enjoyed making that, my last pair of socks. So I'm thinking of casting on another pair, just the easy vanilla sock, just a, you know, 20 row 2x2. Actually, you know what, I might do a 1x1 rib. I hate 1x1 ribbing, but I'd like to see how that works in a sock. So I've had this skein wound for a very long time, and it's Circus Tonic Handmade, who is probably my other favourite Canberra. Sorry, she's not from Canberra, she's from Sydney. I'm so sorry, Hannah. Hannah's definitely from Sydney, of Circus Tonic. And I bought this when I bought my first ever skeins, which I think are 2 of these, this one and that purple. So I can't remember why I wound it or what I bought it for. I probably did buy it to make a pair of socks and then thought that it would be good in a pattern sock or better in a pattern sock, I don't know. It's got also gold stellina, so it's like, is that a waste to use gold stellina in a sock? I don't know. My other thought, I have another ball of Scrumptious Pearl, which is, it's a 3-stripe repeat, which is gold, charcoal and silver. But I have a pair of socks coming that I've had wound into a sock tube, and it's gold and red. Gold and black. Gold and black. I might edit this out, I might be lazy. Anyway, so the other thing I thought I could cast on is this, which is Pickle & Co, which I don't know if I've shown it before, but it's Jasmine is the colourway. And so I made a baby jumper out of a Osaka colourway, and I did have Nina, but I gave Nina away in my last fibre share swap. I think it was Nina, yeah. Anyway, I think, just talking about this now, I feel like even though this is wound, and I swear this has been wound for about 2 years, so the poor yarn, that's why I'm almost tempted to use it, because yarn should not be wound in a cake for that long, especially something with nylon. I don't know. I also want to make a Vertices Unite over Christmas, so this might go with the other colours I've got, so you know what, put that aside, think about that later. So yeah, this for a sock. And I guess, yeah, I'll talk about this now. So, a lot of people make a granny strap blanket, and like I said, I've recently gotten back into crochet. So I was thinking maybe I'll make a granny strap blanket, and then there's these things called a magic cake. I think it's a magic cake. Anyway, essentially you just wind up all of your leftovers into a big cake like this, and you just crochet from it, and it's got magic joins or knotted joins. I don't really know how it works, I haven't looked into it. So with all of these leftovers, and some skeins I dyed myself, like these ones when I was experimenting with food colouring. Oh no, I bought that one. I've also gifted some of these for a miter's square blanket, so it is 4-ply, but it's quite thick. So I don't know, I think these were 10 grams. I think I might wind them all up and make a magic cake. So yeah, I probably need to do a little bit more research, like, because some of them are quite big. So do you put all of it in? Or yeah, like that's left over from my starting point. I feel like they should probably leave those because they are nice solid colours and they're probably good for heels and toes. But smaller things like, you know, this, well, that's probably enough for a kid's sock. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, if anyone has had a magic cake or done a magic cake before, if you could let me know, that'd be wicked, and maybe I will look into it. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, cool. So I guess all I really need to talk about is some things I've got recently. So acquisitions. And one thing, I've had for like 2 months now since I last went and visited my parents. And one of my really close girlfriends, Annie, went to New Zealand and she brought me back a souvenir. And I have had it in my washing basket for a long time because I haven't done any white washing at home. And I didn't want to wash it with the colours, but it's a tea towel from New Zealand and it's all sheep and wool. So last time I went to New Zealand I bought a apron, which is this pattern. Yeah, how cool is it? So I need to start using it, but I would like to wash it first and I haven't gotten around to it. But thank you so much, Annie. Not that she ever, my real life friends don't really watch this, I hope. Or I mean, if they did, that's cool, but yeah, anyway. And something else I recently acquired, which I did pay for. So I've had the small like hand and nail or nail cream, I guess, from Love and I think it's Love and Leash. Anyway, I bought this from KnitPicks, but they have their own website. It's made in New Mexico. It's hand poured and it's a lotion bar. So essentially, I'll show you the packaging first. So, I know they only arrived recently, so it's just like a bar of soap, and it works with body heat. So you just like rub it in your hands, and then rub your hands together. So it's like a hand cream, but it's a lotion bar. So this is lavender and mint, and I bought another one which is citrus, but I'm gonna give that to a friend for Christmas, I think. We swap yarny gifts at Christmas. Well, we did last year, and I'm gonna do it again anyway. I guess, yeah, that's, oh no, one more thing. So when I was at Skein Sisters 2 weeks ago, I try to buy something every time, even if it's something small like a stitch fixer, which is something that Christy Glass from Christy Glass Knits said a little while ago, and it resonated. Like, we need to support our local yarn shops before something happens and they don't exist anymore. So I saw this yarn and I've admired it for like a long time, since every time I'd been there and it was there. And I'm trying to buy Australian products more recently. So this one is from Nunabar Yarn. So she's an art. I just assumed that she was a she. I'm pretty sure it is a female lady who is behind this yarn company. But anyway, this is the yarn here, and it's called Paper Cranes. It's an 8-ply and it's dyed on white gum wool. And I think I've talked about white gum wool before. So it's a wool farm in Tasmania, which is, that's definitely run by a lady. And, you know, they have she does sustainable farming and practices. And I've got a few skeins of white gum wool now, like dyes that are dyed on white gum wool. So yeah, that's actually, it's like I want to say eggplant, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's not really an eggplant colour. It's a bit more lighter than an eggplant, but anyway, it's really lovely. It's so super soft. And so one of the ladies at work she could already knit, but I think I mentioned before that I was helping her knit a hat, and she's actually making the Violet Waffles hat as well. So I bought the pattern, I found the pattern and gave it to her, and she went to Skein Sisters and bought some yarn, and she bought this one and started making her first hat out of this colour. So I'm seeing how it knits up, and it's beautiful. So I'm actually saving this because I think I would like to make it to Tecumseh, and it's never really cold enough to wear that in Australia. And if I do, I'd like to make it out of Australian wool. So I'm holding on to this one, and if not, I'll probably make another hat or a cowl or something. But I only bought one skein, so I'm sort of limited in my options. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. So I guess I'll talk about kind of what's been happening. I've been working a lot, and I've been away for work for the last 2 weeks, and I'll be back away again next week, and then back for the weekend, and then away for a week, back for the weekend, and then away for quite a period of time. So I think the next episode will get recorded probably 2 weeks from now, and then I can possibly fit in one more, and then there probably won't be anything until December, just because I won't be able to record a video and post that. So hopefully I'll get some knitting time in. So I'll have some content when I finally do get to you, but there will be a hiatus probably for the whole month of November to the beginning of December. So just put that out there now. What's been happening? Oh yeah, okay, so Nathan Taylor. I don't even know where to start. So he came to Australia on a 6-week worldwide, whirlwind world tour. And so he'd been in New Zealand at Knit August Nights, I think it's called, which is a yarn festival, or I don't know, it's not a festival, retreat maybe is probably a better word. And actually one of my knitting friends here, Emily, has asked if I would be keen to go on something like that, and absolutely. So when I get some time away and time, like, you know, solid in one spot, don't have to travel a lot for work, that would be wicked, and I would love to do that with her. So I didn't do his double knitting class and a few other classes he had at Skein Sisters, but I did attend the dinner. So we went to this really nice restaurant in Dulwich Hill in Sydney, and there was drinks and food, and basically we just ate this delicious food, and for maybe 40 minutes Nathan talked, and he had a really lovely story. And so he's a guy that knits. He's a theatre performer. He has his own podcast called the Sockmatician Podcast, and I've watched a few episodes, and I was never really super, it's not one of the podcasts that's on my regular list of watching, some of which I'd put on the show notes of last episode, so pop back to episode 8 and have a read there if you're interested in what else I like to watch usually. And he's had a bit of a tumultuous 12 months. He recently had HIV diagnosis, and obviously that turned his world upside down a little bit for a while, but he's on meds and he's doing really well and he's healthy, and that's awesome. And so he talked about, I guess, the changes that have happened in his life and what knitting has, the joy that that's brought him. And he started a hashtag on Instagram called Knitversity, or like Knit Diversity, Diverse Knitty, there we go. And so that's kind of, it started from him putting out or realizing that he had a lot of people on his Instagram, or that he followed, looked like him, or not necessarily male like him, but, you know, Caucasian, or not a lot of minority group knitters. And so that hashtag then started, and a lot of people are posting and about things that not necessarily just their ethnicity or identity that makes them unique, but random stuff that they do, and also that they're a knitter. So that was really cool. And he talked about quite a lot of other stuff, and there's also another hashtag which is essentially like one stitch at a time, and that's all that knitting is. So quite often people look at something like, oh, could you knit that for me, or I could never knit that, and I used to think that too, but knitting really isn't that hard. You just have to have a little bit of patience, and I regularly tell people that patience is a virtue that I don't possess, but when I'm knitting I am growing more patient, which is, I think, a good thing. Definitely. So yeah, I was quite touched by his speech, and I put something on Instagram that night after, or the next day. It was a really nice, I sat with some knitting friends that I know through Knit Night at Skein Sisters, and that was really lovely, just to see them. Like, I came to see Nathan talk, but it was all about the local people, or the knitters that I don't have contact with in my usual life, or my day-to-day life, or my work life, or whatever. So it was really lovely, and that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, so that I had a means to connect with other knitters close to me, or maybe not so close to me, and kind of build that connection with other people who share the same hobbies that I do. So yeah, that was really lovely. So I met Laura from Lola Star Creates in person. We talked a few times after she found my podcast, and she lives a couple hours north of here, about an hour and a half actually. So I'm hoping that I'll manage to get up there sometime soon and actually be able to see her and have a sit and knit. That would be awesome. I met Vanessa from My Creative Garage, whose yarn I've decided to put out today. So this is one of her Christmas collections last year, and there's a few more skeins that I've got, which I haven't used yet because I had a plan for a Christmas shawl, but it's too hot in December, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. So it's still waiting in the stash patiently. So yeah, I think that's really all I had to talk about today. Yeah, thank you for not a lot of knitting content. I've still managed to go over 25 minutes. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you found something that interested you. If you do like this, feel free to follow me on social media. I am at About Ewe, like that, but with full stops in between each word, on Instagram, which I'll put up on the screen as well. And I'm Madbell on Ravelry. You can see all my projects on there, and I usually, well, as of now, I'm putting up pretty detailed notes about things that I do. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, watching the episode. Anyway, I'll talk more about my yarny holiday that's kind of becoming a more mountain biking holiday. But anyway, I'll talk about that next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful couple of weeks, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.